Scott, welcome to Leighton, Orient. How does it feel to be joining us as our Director of Football?
It feels great to be here. It's been a really nice welcome from everyone at the football club, right from Nigel and David to the rest of the guys. It's been a thorough process, but delighted to be here and ready to go.
So why Leighton Orient for you? What was it that attracted you to us?
Leighton Orient's a great football club. It's one of those football clubs that has retained its tradition. It's a family club, it's a community club. When I've been here on a match day to watch the games, it really comes through that it's a club of the people. And speaking to Nigel, David, Mark and Steve and Matt, it's shone through that the club really want to go into the right direction. David has his ambitions of the stadium in the future, and it's the guys, Nigel's been here, a fan of the club for a long time, and again that really was striking speaking to him. He's a real advocate for the football club, and he cares passionately about it.
So you've mentioned the board members there, but what conversations have you had with the staff so far?
Plenty of conversations with Steve around finance and budgets, and Mark about how the club's going to look moving forward. Obviously on the football side, we all met today with the gaffer and PT and Prats and Fozzie and Joe Austin. So plenty of conversations, plenty more conversations to forward on from. But yeah, it's exciting times.
How important is that relationship for you going to be with the footballing side of the club, do you think?
Yeah, listen, it's fundamental, isn't it? I mean, the good thing for me is the guys have done, a big body of work prior to coming into the football club. And listen, my job is to support them in, helping them to do their jobs effectively. So, the guys are doing great. There's plenty of key targets on the list that we're going after. And that's testament to Richie and the guys.
Recruitment, massively topical in the off season, but what's your role going to entail?
So listen, my job is to make sure I bring it all together. As I touched on, the guys have done a great job to identify suitable targets. Now it's about recruiting those guys. But first and foremost, we appreciate, it can take a bit of time, and yes, there's not 3 signings through the door, but we need to make sure we filter through those players to make sure they're the right fit for us. There's no point jumping into it and regretting signing a player just for the sake of it. We've got to really do the due diligence to make sure that they're the right fit for us.
What can we expect to see in the window then?
I think the key word around the window is going to be stability. We've lost a lot of key players over the last couple of windows and some big characters. I think our job is to make sure we probably bring a blend of experience, but also make sure that we sign some young, exciting players as well.
Began to mention it, Scott, around the work that the recruitment guys have done so far. A concern that has been expressed by some fans is, you've joined us at the beginning of June. Like, where are we in the recruitment process? Are we behind? Like, what can you say about that?
No, listen, we're definitely not behind. Richie's been on holiday. I don't think his wife's going to be too happy because he's been on the phone all day, every day. Fozzie, Joe Austin, again, PT, Prats, listen, they've all been doing exactly the same. So I understand the frustration, but we're absolutely not behind. Listen, it's a World Cup year, so we have to factor that in. Clubs aren't going to be as willing to let players go out, and believe it or not, that does affect us at even League One level. But secondly, we've got to make sure we sign and recruit the right players who are physically and mentally robust enough to be able to, again, cope with the demands of League and Cup football.
And on the flip side, it is going to be a transfer window once it opens. Players may leave as well. What's the plan for departing players, whether it's those who need to go for a new challenge or those who are being looked at by clubs?
Yeah, naturally. Listen, players will leave the club, but we are in control of it. There's no financial pressure on us to sell players, so that's a good position to be in. So we're in control. But again, like I said, players will leave, players will join the football club. We just have to make sure that the right players leave and the right players join us.
looking a bit more longer term now, strategy is a word that gets used a lot in lots of industries, I'm sure. Where will that come in your role, do you think?
Good question. So again, speaking to David, he's a real advocate and a real driver to make sure that, you know, our processes are, you know, tight and we are effective in what we do. You know, we need to maximise the tools we have available to us. And I understand that that's the way the world is. You know, we have to put processes in place to, again, make sure the club is getting the very best out of ourselves that we possibly can.
And will that also involve, you know, introducing processes that improve continuity and things like that? And
yeah, exactly. Listen, the building blocks of any successful football club are continuity. You know, there's been a high turnover of players at this football club for a long time, and that, you know, that's understandable. But over time, you know, we're trying to build and sustain, and the key to that is just to keep chipping away. And as long as we're going in the right direction, that's the most important thing. It might take a bit of time, but as long as we're all on the bus, all going in the right direction, that's the key to any successful football club.
And for you as a person, you've played professionally, you've coached, you've been an analyst. I think you've got a degree in sports science as well, haven't you?
I forgot about that.
So you've covered the whole spectrum of you know, departments that will work into you. Now, how beneficial will that be for you, do you think?
Yeah, it's been hugely beneficial. Blimey, it seems a long time ago that I was a young kid at Ipswich coming through the academy, and it's, you know, it's stood me in good stead and got me to where I've got to today. Listen, it's not been plain sailing. There's been some bumps in the road, but the key has always been getting back up and fighting. You know, unfortunately, I didn't have a fantastic playing career, but what it allowed me to do was go up to Scotland for a couple of years. You know, come back down to, you know, to lower league football into non-league. So I was fortunate enough to kind of mix in a lot of different circles, and believe, you know, there's a lot of guys now who are kind of involved in the game at various levels in various jobs. So really stood me in good stead. And as you see, I've said I've been in analysis, been a coach, been in recruitment, sports science, a lot of it. But no, listen, it's been a hard journey, but although I'm only 40, you know, it's stood me in good stead.
And obviously it's a massively busy time for you when it comes to recruitment, but again, going back to the bigger picture, what does an effective director of football look like, do you think?
Good question. I think the key to being a good director of football is just making sure that we make it as simple as we possibly can. You know, my job is to take the load off Richie and the guys and give them as much support as I can to make sure that they are winning enough games of football. Simple as that. You know, the rest of the support staff around it, we've all got to be on the bus going in the same direction. It's as simple as that.
And those foundations, if you like, when can they start to be built? Is that something that started Friday?
Yeah, of course. Listen, that's going to be a work in progress. The primary focus, as you can imagine, at this moment in time is the playing squad. But, you know, those building blocks will slowly but surely be starting to implement across the club.